All right, let's dive in. Every nonprofit kicks off with this incredible mission, right? And just a ton of passion. But to really make a lasting difference, that passion needs a solid plan. So today, we're going to crack the code on what it takes to build a nonprofit that doesn't just survive, but actually thrives, creating real, sustainable impact for years and years. Let's get into the strategic framework that makes it all happen. So here's our roadmap. We're going to start with the big picture, the sustainability puzzle. Then we'll walk through three absolutely critical pillars of strategy: how you get funded, what your work really costs, and how you prove you're making a difference. And then we'll see how it all clicks together to create this amazing engine for success. Okay, so let's start with this fundamental challenge that every single nonprofit leader knows all too well. How do you balance that fire to change the world with the cold, hard realities of keeping the lights on? This is the big one, isn't it? I mean, we all want to believe that if we just have good intentions and work hard enough, that's all it takes. But the truth is, without a really smart engine running under the hood, even the most passionate organizations can just completely run out of gas. Let me show you one big reason why. This number is just wow. It points to this huge hidden problem. According to SOPACT, data teams in this sector can spend up to 80% of their time just trying to clean up messy, disconnected data. Think about that. That's like spending Monday through Thursday just wrestling with spreadsheets instead of figuring out what actually works. It's a perfect example of how an operational weak spot can quietly sabotage a truly passionate mission. So, how do we start to fix this? Well, the very first step is to get the fuel for your mission. And this isn't just about writing grants. It's about building a really intentional strategy to bring in the resources you need consistently. You know, a funding model isn't just a wish list of grants you hope to land. The Bridgespan Group puts it perfectly. It's a deliberate, repeatable system. The whole goal here is to stop just reacting to whatever funding opportunity pops up and start proactively building a financial foundation that you can actually count on. And this comparison just lays it all out. On the left, you've got that chaotic, super stressful world of chasing grants, scrambling for whatever's available, relying on who you know. But on the right, you've got a strategic model. It's intentional. It's something you can do year after year. And it's built on your organization's actual strengths, giving your programs a stable platform to stand on. So how do you get there? Well, the Bridgespan Group gives us this really clear 6-step journey. You start by just looking in the mirror. Then you research what's working for others, and you systematically narrow down your options until, boom, you have a real, concrete plan. It's a process that just brings so much clarity to your whole financial strategy. Now, having a great funding model is only half the story. Once you've got a plan to bring money in, you need to know exactly what it costs to run your engine. And this brings us to this super important idea of true costs. The key phrase here is true cost. It's not just about the obvious line item expenses. It's the full, all-in cost of delivering your service. And that has to include both the direct costs of a program and its fair share of all the organization's background costs, the overhead. This breakdown is perfect. So direct costs, that's the easy stuff to track, right? Like a teacher's salary for an after-school class. But indirect costs, what people call overhead, are those things that support everything, like the director's salary, the rent, or the IT guy. And these are not wasteful expenses. They are the absolute essential infrastructure that makes all the important frontline work even possible. And this visual just makes it so clear. To really know what it costs to run that program, you have to add its slice of the indirect costs back into the pie. Only then do you know the true price tag, and only then do you know what you actually need to raise to make that program last. Okay, so you've got a smart funding model, and you totally get your true costs. Now for the final huge piece of the puzzle, proving that all your hard work is actually making a real difference. This is where we talk about measuring your real impact. Okay, so this is so important. These three words, outputs, outcomes, and impact, are not interchangeable. Outputs are just what you did. We ran 200 workshops. Outcomes are what changed for people because of what you did. 45% of them got jobs. And impact, that's the big picture systemic change for the whole community. And let me tell you, funders aren't just happy with outputs anymore. They want to see outcomes. And to measure those outcomes in a way people will actually believe, you have to be pretty comprehensive. That means asking these 5 key questions. What change actually happened? How big was that change? How much of it can we honestly take credit for? Are there any risks our data might be wrong? And, so critically, who exactly benefited so you can make sure your work is equitable? Remember that crazy 80% statistic from the beginning? Well, this is why that happens. Each one of these is a different data silo. You've got survey results over here, attendance sheets over there, case notes in a totally different system. When these things don't talk to each other, you can never see a person's complete journey, which makes it basically impossible to prove long-term outcomes. So what's the solution? Well, it's actually a pretty elegant idea. It's all about building a system where every single person gets a unique ID from the moment they first connect with you. That way, every survey, every class, every interaction is automatically linked together. This solves that whole fragmentation mess right at the source and turns data collection from a chore into a powerful tool for learning. And this brings us to the grand finale. Because when you combine a strategic funding model, a crystal clear understanding of your true costs, and really solid impact measurement, you don't just have 3 good ideas in a row. You create something amazing, a powerful, self-reinforcing cycle of success. Here's how this flywheel gets spinning. You start by generating strong impact data. That evidence becomes this amazing story you can tell funders, which helps you get the money you need. Because you know your true costs, you can put that money to work strategically. That smart investment makes your programs even stronger, which, you guessed it, delivers even better results, creating even more compelling data. And the wheel just starts to spin faster and faster. And this is exactly why investing in all this back-end stuff, your funding strategy, your cost analysis, your data systems, is every bit as important as the frontline program work. This strategic clarity is what guarantees your mission can be fulfilled not just this year, but for the long, long haul. You know, I think this quote from the Bridgespan Group just nails it. You can literally have the most brilliant program in the world, but without that strong financial foundation, its success is always going to be fragile. Strategy isn't some boring distraction from the mission. It's the very foundation that the mission is built on. So I'll leave you with this one last thought to chew on. When you look at your own organization's systems for funding, for finance, for data, what are they really for? Are they just there to check boxes for funders and write reports? Or are they dynamic tools that are actually helping you learn, adapt, and get better at what you do every single day? That choice, right there, might be the single biggest factor in your long-term impact. Thanks for tuning in.